All right, we're back. We just did our Game Changers review reaction. We're about to do a long overdue spoiler review because I did my non-spoiler review when it first came out. I watched it the first day it came out because I was anticipating it for, pretty much years. And finally, it was released on HBO Max. I wanted to see it in the theaters. I had no one to go with. So I settled for watching it on I think I only have like a 50-inch television. It's really whatever. So I watched it, did my non-spoiler review, and I know you wanted to review it as well. So we just waited and waited, and we finally made time. So we're about to do our spoiler review for Godzilla vs Kong, and then of course we're gonna do our spoiler review for Mortal Kombat next week. So also look out for that one as well. All right, so it's been out a month. It's already off of HBO Max. I actually just told James that the other day. I was like, dude, did you watch Godzilla vs. Kong? Because today's the last day to watch it. And he didn't. So I got another, I think my third watching. I got a third watching in on the 30th. I just wanted to watch it one last time, not only for the review, just because it was leaving. I just wanted to get, whatever. So haven't seen it a couple of times now, and you've seen it already. Let's go into it. Let's go over our thoughts. Let's go over some spoilers. Kitty, what did you think of this film overall? I know you got some notes. I have some notes.
Um, I mean, I wasn't that big of a fan. I'm not gonna lie. I was anticipating it. It was something I really wanted to watch because I really liked Kong Skull Island.
Yeah.
The acting was good. The story was good. I even liked the last Godzilla because I liked that story. I even liked the Godzilla before that.
Okay. Yeah.
So this movie, I was anticipating. I really wanted to see it. And the disappointment factor for me was Godzilla, if you added up the total time, was in the movie maybe 8 minutes. And that to me was just frustrating, especially because the last movie Godzilla was in, there was a whole build up around him
Yeah.
and but Millie Bobby Brown and all of that. And I really enjoyed that story. And they did not focus much around that element. They focused all on Kong and his story, which was great because I loved that little girl
Mm-hmm.
and I loved the relationship she had with Kong. And and I get what they were doing here. They wanted both these titans to have a sympathy background, and you had sympathy for both these titans, you really did.
Mm-hmm.
But more so for Kong, and Godzilla was an afterthought. So to me, the title should have been Kong with some Godzilla.
Kong. Yeah, we said this. Kong Skull Island 2 featuring Godzilla.
Yeah, I was just
Pretty
so,
much.
I mean, the acting just wasn't there. The plot was just all over the place. Middle Earth made zero sense to me. Like, I just, I'm sorry. I just wasn't that big of a fan. On the plus sides of it, I like some of the visuals. I did like the relationship between Kong and the little girl. The fight scenes between the two, besides giving me a seizure at some moments, I enjoyed. But yeah, that's my kind of takeaway from it.
Yeah. I mean, you pretty much nailed almost every point that I was about to make. It's the truth, and I was told, so I went on someone else's YouTube channels and we did our own little review. We were talking, and I brought up a couple of some of these gripes, not all of them, but some, and especially about the Hollow Earth one, and there were little things, and also about Team Godzilla and how a lot of their time was either pointless or there was just it was no use. Like there was no use for the dad. Like why even have the dad there if he was just going to have you just the one scene with the actor Kyle Chandler and stuff like that. Like why even bring in an actor like him for the just to have to be in the movie for 1 minute? And from what I was told during that stream is that a lot of it was cut. There was a lot of scenes on Team Godzilla's side was cut, which is great. That's fine. I understand it. That explains why there was no little to no scenes with them. But at the same time, like you said, this movie's more Kong forward, and it's really in a sense not fair. Now let's at the end of the day, Godzilla kind of got the W, so I really can't complain too much. But at the same time, like Team Kong was completely better. The acting was better. The scenes between, I agree, the scene between, or any of the scenes between him and the young girl was really good. I do like that. I love their bond.
Mhm.
I love the fact that they can communicate together. I do like that. There were a lot of things that they gave Kong in this movie, though. And I said this, I think I said this in my non spoiler review as well. I know primates are the closest thing to us. I know they're very, very smart. I get it. But they made him too human in some of this, in some of the movie, in some of the scenes. Uh, when he sits down on the throne, I was just like, all right, really? And then the axe, like he's like, oh, I found this axe. I have to put it in this hole. Like it was just a little weird. And then like there was no built, like there was no backstory. There's nothing said about that axe. Where did it come from? How did he know? Now, one of my other gripes about the Hollow Earth scene, and we talked about this, and they said, well, if you look where he ultimately goes to, that was the beacon of the energy. That's where all the light came. Because we were like, where's the sun? How is everything so beautifully and like sunlit down there? It's the middle of the fucking earth. And they said it was that energy point, right? So they needed Kong to be able to find out where the energy was that they had to go. But it was clear as day where all that light was coming from. Like there was thunder, there's lightning, and there was like two tips or whatever. It was a very weird environment that I don't understand. And I'd be okay with it if we knew more about it, or if there was some type of backstory about it, what those floating blue rocks were, what that energy was, how they can how they can take a sample rate of just a little piece of the energy, not even use the physical rock, but download its energy to a computer that powers Mechagodzilla. My issue with the movie was the first Godzilla from 2014. Look, we're dealing with monsters, we're dealing with titans. I get it. But that movie felt believable for some reason. Godzilla King of Monsters, same kind of concept, a little bit more whatever, but at the same time, look, you have these creatures that they wanted to use to kind of like restore order in their mind. They wanted to unleash them, and they thought that was the answer. I thought the plot was horrible in King of Monsters, but it was still a good film. Kong Skull Island was as forward as you can be. They went to a little Bermuda Triangle island that was uncharted, with the exception of the civilization that was already there. And there was this young Titan that was still just finding its way.
Yeah.
No family. Obviously, he's the last of his kind. Let's fast forward really quick to the news that just broke the other day about them wanting to continue. Apparently, secretly and quietly, they have tapped Adam Wingard, the director of this film, to do a sequel to this movie. And some of the rumored titles is Son of Kong. I want to know how. Where, what Titan? Is there something frozen that we didn't see? How is he going to have a son? I don't get. So if that happens, I don't get that. But yeah, we got a lot of King Kong in this movie with little to no Godzilla. Everything on Team Godzilla was just really bad, really bad. The
Had
acting was
been
bad.
an afterthought. It was like they spent all this time on Kong, and I get that they might have spent all this time on Godzilla, but they pieced it together and just like really fast, and just it seemed like they just plugged it into the
Yeah,
movie
yeah,
random areas.
yeah. I mean, in fairness, Kong only got one film. In fairness, I get it. This was Godzilla's third film, So I understand maybe you needed to tell a little bit more about Kong to not only get people up to speed, but you didn't even do that. What we find out in the beginning of the film is that they built this outpost on Skull Island. I don't know how they did it around him without him knowing. That's number one. They just built a dome around him with an environment that looked there was a simulated environment until one day he's like, you know what? Let me throw a tree at the sky because I want to break the dome. Like, so I don't know if he just knew, and I so That I didn't understand. Then the whole transportation of Kong. So they know that Godzilla is literally he habitates in water. That's what Godzilla does. He is basically a sea creature. He really is. Obviously, he can go on land, but he's the strongest in water. They decide to take him on an aircraft carrier across to where they have to go. But then they last minute after the attack, they're like, maybe we can air transport him. That way Godzilla won't pick up his scent. Why didn't they do that from the start? And why wouldn't Godzilla still smell? If Godzilla can detect him underground, thousands or I don't know how many feet, I know it's in the thousands of feet to the center of the earth, he can sense him. You're going to tell me he can't sense him because he's in the fucking air? So and here's the other thing too. My favorite part of the original Godzilla film was the buildup, and then talk about having no Godzilla in the film. I mean, he was literally in that movie, I think, for 8 minutes too, and we didn't see him until an hour into the film as well. But they did a great job of building it up to the point where when you finally saw Godzilla, you were like in awe. You're like, oh great! Well, look, I just saw a toe. Yes, you were that excited to see Godzilla's stump because you hadn't seen whatever. So anyway, you get that buildup, and then finally, you just see the blue build up along his spine because he's about to shoot his atomic breath, and you loved it. And he did it a couple of more times in that film.
Mhm.
He did it like every 5 seconds in this film.
Yeah.
And look, I love it. Look, you can see briefly, you can see his eyes. I love that they changed that. I love that they made him more atomic. Yes, in the film before this, he got the nuclear blast. I know he's atomic. I know he's stronger, so he can do it more. But I didn't know he can take his atomic breath and focus it and just destroy a hole into the center of the earth. And then they can communicate.
Right, but here's my thing. So he could destroy a hole in the middle of the earth, but can't penetrate Kong's skin.
Oh, no, he just burned Kong's skin. When he shot him in the back,
Just
he was
random.
literally cutting through the skyscrapers like butter.
Yep.
Like butter. Again, he was strong, and I get it. And I love the visuals of that. That's why I used the thumbnail for this review was him charging up right about to shoot a hole into the center of the earth. So I don't know if he could do that. I mean, obviously he can, but I'm going to go over a couple of my notes. So obviously we got more of Kong than Godzilla, and it seems to be shown from Kong's side more. Godzilla gets the top billing, but yet is more of a side character. Here's one thing that we haven't talked about though, because I didn't know, and I don't, other than looking it up, it's really never even told about in the movie, really. The character that is doing the telepathy thing with Mechagodzilla, the one, the Asian character his name is Ren. So Ren Sarazawa, he's in the thing, and obviously he gets overtaken by what do you call it, Ghidorah's head. He's the son of Ishiro, the guy who literally sacrifices his life to save Godzilla in Godzilla King of Monsters. That's his son.
I did not know that.
Nobody knew it because they didn't
Not
say
explained.
it because it's not explained. So how much of a fuck you is that to your dad to go now to go against everything that your dad stood for, what your dad worked to do, unless you're blaming him for the death of your father? Because you're like, my dad sacrificed himself for you. Who the hell are you? I'm his son. So I get maybe that, but you don't even give us any of it. You just literally give us a character, tell us nothing about him. He ends up being the son of a character from the first 2 films. The lead of Monarch. Well, not the lead of Monarch, but he was a big figure in Monarch, the big figure in the first 2 movies, as I said. Kills himself to save Godzilla with sacrificing himself with the nuclear blast. And then you have this character that is the son, and it's just an afterthought. We just glaze over it. That made absolutely no sense.
Yeah,
So it's just another aspect of not building characters. The Bernie character I thought was funny at times, but was pointless. He was annoying.
he was that was another thing. It was, and then Millie Bobby Brown's the kid who played in Deadpool,
Josh. Yeah.
Josh. Yeah, that whole team aspect was a little weird to me. I just didn't understand it. Like, that again, Godzilla's whole side
Yeah.
was odd.
Yeah. It
It
was.
it was just like a whole awkward, like that whole team up. It's like you get the podcast guy, he's the podcast, the whistleblower, and then
Yeah.
you got Josh, who's her friend. It's like that whole team. And then when they're all together, I'm just like, okay, none of you actually make sense
No. No.
in the collective except Bobby Brown. She's got connections to Godzilla. And yet, in this storyline, she still didn't make sense.
Yeah. No, it didn't. It did. She didn't make sense. The father didn't make sense. Oh, people change. But, things change. That's why, like, he was trying to justify Godzilla being what he is.
I think the only thing that made sense with her aspect in it is she was saying the only reason why Godzilla is here is because he's trying to fight off whatever's
He's
happening.
being provoked.
He's being
Exactly. Yeah.
provoked.
Yeah. And we
That's
got
the
that from the trailers. Yeah.
only reason why her character made sense in the
Yeah.
whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that they brought them back in, but
Yeah.
again, you did nothing with Kyle Chandler's character. And going back to what you were saying about the team up, so you got first of all, they break into this high security, which is the worst security, whatever the facility they're in.
Mm-hmm.
He knew where to go because of the computer from the beginning of the movie. But anyway, so they go to this level, they hack in whatever, and Mechagodzilla he's now Mechagodzilla. He's being controlled by himself. Or no, when they first see him, I'm sorry, when they first see Mechagodzilla, Bernie's like, it's Robo Godzilla. And then Josh is like, no, it's Mecha Godzilla. Like, how the fuck do you know? Like, was that our way? Was that the way of telling the audience it's Mecha Godzilla? We knew. How do you know? Who is this kid? He's the one that, and the whole fact that they shut him down with that alcohol, the flask of alcohol, was just ridiculous. That was stupid.
Yeah. What? Yeah. Again, that whole side was a complete hot mess. It was weird.
So what else? Look, I would have liked a little bit more backstory with Hollow Earth. I would like a little more backstory of, and if we get a movie just based on that, that'd be great. Showing some of the old ancestors, even maybe some of the like the ancient battle between him, the older ancestors and the older Godzilla. Understand where that axe came from, because like I said, and somebody had said this from the trailer. Actually, my cousin said this when I was on Facebook, and when the trailer first started, he basically said it literally looks like Thor and Stormbreaker. Like, it's almost like, so Thor had to go to where he did, have one of the elves or whatever that guy was. I can't remember. Dimitri. I forgot what his name was, but the one was played by whatever. Doesn't matter because can't think of his name right now. I don't know. My memory's a little off today. So he goes and he gets Stormbreaker made. Now, I know Kong didn't go specifically to Hollow Earth by himself to get this, but the fact that he got it, and then he knew to deflect, like he was deflecting the atomic blast, and then it was just a couple of things. And of course, let's not forget, and I brought this up on the review stream that I was on the other channel, he pulls a fucking full Martin Riggs from Lethal Weapon and pops his dislocated shoulder back in from, banging it off a skyscraper.
Up a skyscraper.
Like, you Mel Gibson? Is that a Mel Gibson in a gorilla suit? What is this? Not to mention, he looks like John McClane jumping off the fucking skyscraper from Die Hard when Godzilla blasts the atomic breath from the ocean and he's standing on the aircraft carrier. You saw that in the trailers where he says he sees it coming, he jumps off, and it literally looked like a scene in Die Hard. So, this movie, oh, God. And the other thing that they really didn't explain that much was the use of Ghidorah's head. It was a skull, but yet it was still tapped in to the neurons or whatever it was that
Yeah.
gave the telepathic powers or whatever that
It
Ghidorah
was
had.
funny. This movie was set up as to everything was just there, and they wanted people in the audience to just use all the tools that they knew and
Yeah.
just go, well, you guys should know,
Yeah.
you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's what it was. They wanted us to suspend our disbelief way too much.
Hmm.
And the also too, I said this I think in my non-spoiler review, but it was just so much. There was so much you really can't say in a non-spoiler review, but I felt like the leap of technology from Godzilla King of Monsters till now was like 100 years into the future.
Hmm.
Like those spaceships that were designed. How,
Yeah, they were just going from like point A to point B in like what, hours?
yeah, how is that done? How was the Skarsgård? I can't remember his character's name, but one of the Skarsgård brothers, the one, the scientist or whatever. How did he know how to fly one? You let alone jumpstart Kong's heart. Like, the pilot gets killed. They have to fly. They have to maneuver from the center of the earth out. They come flying out. They almost bang into Kong's mouth. Then they almost bang into Godzilla's spine. Like this guy is flying like he's a professional flyer. He's never flown before, and yet he's flying a magical spacecraft.
I think. I think like
Oh,
I think we're I think sometimes we want too much from a movie, but then also we're like we still want some aspects of it to look like it makes sense.
yeah.
And
Give us
I think
practical.
yeah, none of it looked like it was just like again, it looked like a lot of it was just there and they expected us just to accept it and go, "Oh, well, you guys should just know this."
Yeah,
And that was the really upsetting part about it, when
yeah.
I was just like, and I was so I wanted to like it. I didn't want to crap on it. I'm sorry if you guys hate that I'm crapping on it. I'm sorry.
Now I'm not going to turn around and say, but in the same breath, I'm not going to turn around and say I hated the movie. I didn't hate the movie. I
I
enjoyed it. I watched it 3 times.
I'm not going to say that either. I didn't hate the movie either. Like it was for what it was. It was action packed. Like I said, the relationship between what was Gia and Kong, I loved it. I thought
Yeah,
that was really warm and heartfelt. Um, I would liked more explanation on Godzilla. I wanted to see more of Godzilla. I wanted to see, some build up, a little bit of a plot, a
yeah,
little bit more explanation, some better backstory. Just, just you built up this movie so much, it be such a letdown in that aspect was a little disappointing to me. And it just seems like the last few movies HBO Max has been pushing out has been like this. And I'm not really
yeah. And we'll get into Mortal Kombat next week. But at the same time, HBO Max is literally just a platform. This isn't them. This is Warner
oh,
Brothers.
I know. And that's the rough part about it is
This is
because
Warner Brothers. Yeah.
they're platforming these movies and I feel terrible. It's like, ugh.
Wonder Woman 84, Snyder Cut, Godzilla versus Kong, and
I
now
like
Mortal Kombat.
I like Snyder Cut
No,
though.
I know,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying these are the 4 movies that they used at HBO Max as a 10 pole,
Hmm.
and yeah, I mean, pretty much 3 of the 4 haven't been as good as we wanted them to be.
And audiences, even audience didn't like Snyder Cut. So that's been rough.
They said, first of all, yeah. So when you look at the views, and some people are online saying that WB is trying to sabotage Snyder Cut because they just don't want to continue the Snyderverse, and that some of the data that's being released isn't really true. But as of now, it's the least watched of the HBO Max movies. I think Mortal Kombat took the reins already over Godzilla versus Kong, and then it's Wonder Woman 84, which I still don't know. I think Wonder Woman 84 should be at the bottom, but yeah, I just don't understand. I get it's a movie about monsters. So how much of a disbelief do you need in suspension, or a suspension of disbelief do you need? I get it. It's a mystical and a magical movie anyway, but at the same time, you could do it. Like, first of all, these movies need to start to learn that just get the fucking human characters out. There's no point. People just want to see monsters fight monsters. I mean, you need the human element for some scenes. That's why you can do it correctly because they did it with, like you said, Gia and Kong.
Hmm.
That scene, even what do you call it? I know her last name, Rebecca Hall, right? Even Rebecca Hall's character wasn't bad. I liked her character as well. Skarsgård's character wasn't bad either. I just don't understand how he knew how to fly that thing. But
Hmm.
then you had the stupid villain. So the scientist, the head scientist, the one that created Mechagodzilla.
Hmm.
His daughter's the one that was trying to get that sample.
Which I could not stand her or her
She was
character.
fucking annoying. And then she's like, shoot him. Are you fucking stupid? You're in a fucking cave filled with monsters. You're gonna shoot Kong? What
Yeah.
did you expect to happen? I'm glad he smashed that fucking ship.
Hmm.
I'm glad
Yeah.
he did. But it was just so many things that like they didn't need. Like they could have done it in a cleaner way. What I think hurt this movie, and I think it would have made it a little bit better.
I think honestly, I'll hear your story first, but I
Okay,
have my side. Go ahead. What could make it better?
no, they needed a movie before this.
No, or this should not have been called Kong versus Godzilla.
No, but
This should have
they
they
could have
could have
called it. They could have had the fight in this movie, but they needed a movie before this to set Kong's story up a little bit more. Because
or,
then they wouldn't have had the Kong's element. It wouldn't have been more Kong forward in this one, and it would have just been about them scissoring.
or they could have just completely did away with Godzilla since we got really none of him
Yeah,
and just this movie about Kong and explain a little bit more about Middle Earth because they could have had that time.
that would have been done in the previous movies. What I'm saying.
But we didn't have
Then
this.
you have the verses.
But if they got rid of the Godzilla aspect of it,
Yeah,
that to build about Middle Earth
yeah,
and have this Gia Kong relationship,
yeah.
like it would have like a foreshadowing montage type of thing, and like just have this movie be Kong forward and just have Kong get rid of the Godzilla aspect of it, and then the next movie be Godzilla versus Kong. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you said it the same way. You just said it different. You
Well,
said
this movie would still exist, but
yeah.
minus Godzilla. Yeah.
But and the other thing is too, like what didn't make any sense with the whole center of the earth thing is that they're breathing on it. Like, how is there oxygen? They're just on there. Like when they took him after the movie, when they brought him back to, they're like, oh, he's home, right? Like they're walking around. They didn't have suits on, right? They were just walking around, just breathing. So there's
I
oxygen down there, and then on top of that, we were told in other movies that they get their energy source, especially Godzilla gets his energy source from the center of the earth because of the radiation. Why aren't they getting cancer? They
I
shouldn't be able to walk around without suits. Kong, maybe. I'm sure Kong should be fine. But the whole Hollow Earth thing just didn't make any sense. They could be and that's their fault because they didn't explain it right to us. They put this in like this kind of Christopher Nolan-esque interstellar like world where things were just flipped around, like, or Inception, where things were fucking flipped around. Physics didn't make any sense. You had ground down here, ground up there. You had sunlight, but there was no sun. It was just weird. It was weird.
it was like it was in my brain it was like an inverted Earth.
Right. Exactly.
And I was just like, so it was supposed to be like the reverse of Earth. If that was the case, then there shouldn't have been oxygen.
Right.
Shouldn't have
Exactly.
been, and there shouldn't have been sunlight.
Right. Oh, you know
So
what? The light part, I'm over with. The light part, okay, great. That energy sources would lit up all of Hollow Earth, great. But now let's get to the main thing: is how do they have air?
right. Right. And that when they were talking about hollowed earth, that was not supposed to be my vision. It was supposed to be like an inverse earth. It should have been dark. It shouldn't have been lush. It shouldn't have been anything like that. I was
Yeah,
not picturing that. So when I saw it, I was like, why does it look like dinosaur land?
yeah.
I was so confused about it. Like,
Land of
is
the
it
Lost.
yeah, it's like
Look like Land of the Lost.
I was like, did the dinosaurs die and go down there? I mean, it was so freaking confusing to me. And that's what another big issue of this movie was that whole hollowed earth aspect. And I don't care who tries to explain it to me, it's not going to make sense.
Well, they've had other films that I thought I watched the one with Brendan Fraser, but I know I didn't see the one with The Rock. But they have had the films Journey to the Center of the Earth. Wasn't the same. What didn't have the same elements? Didn't have the same kind of like environment, or no?
I'm not sure. I haven't really.
because I think that's what a lot of people expected from the center of the earth was like the earth world, but just in the center. But like I said, it just the physics of it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
But also too, the core of the earth has its own energy source. We don't know what the core of the earth does. I mean, there might be whatever, but as far as oxygen goes, I wouldn't expect you to be able to
Well, you
breathe.
kind of think the center of Earth, if it does exist, or I mean, that's where when it volcanoes erupt, lava comes from there, things
Yeah,
like that. So
right.
I'm thinking it's going to be dark or some.
Hot and
Yeah,
hot, which it was. So in that room where Godzilla's throne, I'm sorry, Kong's throne was, and where he found the axe, there was lava there.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I
Yeah.
was when that one throne room. That's what I pictured all of it to look like,
Yes.
and
Exactly.
that's not what we got.
Like a hellish kind of environment without
Right.
it being hell. I get it. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. Look visually. I thought it was great. It just didn't make any sense. But we could pick on Hollow Earth all the whole review stream, but it was more about the other aspects of it. The really bad use of the human characters on Godzilla's side. They were
Mm.
pointless and was just bad acting or bad dialogue. Um, you had Kong was treated a lot better. This was more Kong's film, which I'm fine with. Again, in all fairness, Kong only got one film.
You know what the movie did really good though? On and I'll give it this. You're
Yeah,
supposed to have sympathy for both characters.
yeah,
And you really do, especially for Godzilla,
yeah,
you know? And you're not in these types of movies, you don't really have sympathy for the characters. You don't have sympathy for these big monsters. But you come out of this movie going, "Oh, damn, I really feel bad for both." You have sympathy for both these characters and like these titans, these monsters, and it did really good on that.
yes,
Really, really well. Even when you did just see Godzilla for like 8 minutes of the movie, you're like, damn, you really you're pulling for Godzilla hardcore. And
yeah.
you were even pulling for King Kong. You didn't want either of them to lose or die or get hurt or
Oh, of
anything.
course. Yeah,
So
yeah.
that
I
that was
agree.
a good aspect of the movie.
I agree. But then also too, the bad aspect of it is as well is the fact that Godzilla was the savior for the first two films, and then all of a sudden he's vilified. He did what he did in Tampa. I think it was Tampa. It was part of Florida, whichever part of Florida it was. I'm pretty sure it was
Sarasota,
Tampa.
I think.
Okay, Sarasota.
Yeah.
One of them.
Yeah.
Pensacola, I think it was.
Or Pensacola. It might have been Pensacola. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the parts of Florida. He literally was isolated to that one region, and they even showed it on the map what he was attacking.
Mhm.
They vilify him as like he's attacking land. He attacked a facility, an
Yeah.
apex facility. They couldn't put two and two together.
Yeah.
Something's going on. Like, how old is Bobby Brown's character in that film? 14?
I want to say in her tweens. Yeah.
All right, 14, 15. So a 14 and 15-year-old could figure out what everybody else in the world can't.
Yeah.
She knew
Well,
he was being provoked.
well, I think because she has a connection to him, and that's what I wanted to see more of.
So did the dad. They built up this whole thing where the dad forgave him for what happened with his son. The fact that he lost his son in the original movie. Part of the aftermath of Godzilla. Had all this anger against him. Finally, was able to forgive him. Actually, saved his life at one point. And then all of a sudden, now he's turned again because of what's going on. And you're like, oh, people can change. Like it just didn't make any sense. It was a backwards. The Team Godzilla went backwards in regression from Godzilla King of
Oh,
Monsters. What's up, elevators? How you doing?
how you doing?
There's got to be a better name to call elevators. I'll call them elevators. Either
Going
way,
down?
going down. But this the character there was character regression on those sides. You
Yeah.
know, on that side for those characters, and then you have these other characters on the Kong side just was so good. It really was, and
Yeah.
it did make you it made you have a bond, like an emotional bond with them as well. Like obviously you didn't want to see anything happen to the little girl, which
Oh,
we knew wasn't going to happen, but it did make you sympathize with Kong more because it gave him more of a human element, which I was okay with. I mean, he is a primate. I get it. I understand it, but he was a little too human in this movie as well. He
yeah.
was. They gave him a little too much of a human um what's the word? Not mentality. Personality. Like there were certain things I just didn't understand what he knew or how he knew how to do it.
Well, I really enjoyed that he can communicate with
I
her.
did like that. I like the fact that he can sign with the little girl, and now, of course, with Rebecca Hall if he needed to.
Yeah.
I like that he signified that he's home, or that
Mhm.
he wanted to go home. Like that was a really cool scene when she found out that he can talk. I
Yep.
love that scene. I
Yep.
did.
Yep.
And I also knew going into this movie that as much as you can say Godzilla did get the W, I knew that there wouldn't really be a clear winner no matter what they said. One will fall. I
Well,
knew we weren't going to get it.
did Godzilla really get the W though? Like I don't
I
even.
think it's known that he got the W, yeah.
I mean,
Now, Kong kicked Mechagodzilla's ass, don't get me wrong.
yeah.
And I was a little upset with that. I was. I like the fact that Kong helped out because it was needed. We knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
We knew that they were going to team up. And I know Godzilla got the assist. He what do you call it? He powered up the axe, gave it, an extra boost of energy for him to be able to cut
Yeah.
the limbs.
I don't think the world or anything would have been saved without Kong. That's why I think Kong got the W.
Oh, Kong got the W as far as the movie, but the
Yeah,
fight between the two. I mean, Godzilla killed him pretty much.
pretty much. But
He wouldn't have been, if it wasn't for the jump start of his heart, he would have died.
yes.
He got his chest crushed
Yes.
by those massive stumps.
Right.
But what I was hoping for and what I was expecting was, even though Kong was doing his thing with the axe, I really thought Godzilla was going to give Mechagodzilla the final blow. I thought he was going to use his atomic breath and put him down because he used it in every other fucking part of the movie.
You
Like
mean the 7 minutes of the movie?
in the 7 or 8 minutes he was in the film, I would say 30 seconds, every 30 seconds of those 8 minutes, he was shooting atomic breath.
Yeah.
So I definitely wanted to see Godzilla give I wanted him to be the one that destroyed Mechagodzilla
Yeah, I
because,
get it.
whatever. But, it's there's so many other things they could have done with this film that would have just made it a little bit better. Again, it wasn't a bad movie. I don't hate it. I do like it. I enjoyed it. I watched it 3 times already, but there's just things that I would have done differently, especially more backstory. I want to know where that axe, what is that axe? Everybody's like, oh, that axe was built from one of Godzilla's spikes. Why is it glowing blue? Where is it? Is it from Godzilla's ancestors? Which it makes sense if it was, but who fashioned it? Who made it? I want to know.
I don't.
I do.
I don't.
How ugly were those bird characters in that throne room?
Oh, I know. Like
They look
all.
like something out of not Never Ending Story, but out of like one of those other movies. Not Dark Crystals. The other one.
I was gonna say Dark Crystal. They look like
Yeah, Dark Crystal, or then maybe that's what it was. Because the other one I was thinking of the one with Bowie. What's the one with Bowie?
Labyrinth. No.
Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just that was pretty cool. But I did like the fight scenes. I did.
Fight scenes were
Um,
great. That's
yeah,
what I enjoyed about the movie. I was like, they were. I mean, there were some spots where I was like, I think I'm gonna have a seizure. But
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, but there were some spots where it was so, and also there were some spots where it was so dark. I didn't know what
Yeah, no, the fight scenes, especially in was it Hong Kong?
it it
Was that
was.
Hong Kong or
It
Tokyo? That was
was
Hong Kong. Yeah,
Hong Kong, which I thought was a little weird too. I was like, okay, I because you would think it's like Japanese or Japanese for it, but it was in Hong Kong. So I was just like, where are they? And then it took me a little bit to realize they were in Hong Kong.
that's why I kept saying Tokyo.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but look, I love the neon lights. I love that. I did like that. The neon lights. I can't
And that's
stress.
what made it pretty, the background to backdrop of Hong Kong, because
Yeah,
originally I thought it was in Tokyo, and then I was like, wait, I don't think they are. I think they're in
yeah,
Hong Kong. That's what made the fight scenes really pretty. But then sometimes it went so dark,
yeah.
I didn't know what was going on.
And
I
I
think.
can't stress enough. I do visually Godzilla looked really good in this film. He
Oh
did.
yeah, sometimes in some of those movies he does not look good,
Yeah, I
and
love the blue. I really do love the blue when he's supercharged. I love his eyes going blue. The one criticism I do have of Godzilla, and my brother brought this up, is some parts of the film it doesn't have no definition. His body has no definition, so it looks, quite frankly, like a lump of shit. Some parts, like there's no body definition; it's just all clumped together. But that's because, like you said, some of the scenes are really dark.
They're really dark,
Yeah,
and it's hard to say. But even so, even in this movie too, some of the movies, Kong doesn't look good.
yeah,
Kong looked really good.
yeah. They
Like
did a
I,
really good job of Kong, and I like that he used like the advantage he had, especially in Hong Kong, was that he was leaping from building to building to get to get away from Godzilla's breath.
Mhm.
Um, woof, Godzilla, what did you eat? But it was I love this. I love the fight scene. I like the tail whip that Godzilla likes to use. Knocked him out a couple of times, and then of course, um, the team up at the end against Mecha Godzilla. But
Yeah.
but of course, Mechagodzilla, I mean, he was taken down by Kong, but it also came down to some alcohol just splashed onto the circuit board. Oh, God. And then, I mean, I don't know. It might look, if I was in that room, maybe it was as simple as what she did. But when she locks them in to the glass room, Millie Bobby Brown's character is just like, doot, doot, doot. And then it just locks them in. So I'm like, all right, maybe it is just press those buttons and it just locks them in. But it's just like, how did you know what to do? Like you've never been in this room before. Like what's going on? What is like? Are you guys really saving the world right now? We got a conspiracy theorist guy who does a podcast. We got a 14-year-old girl. This other kid. I mean, I think he's old enough to drive if he took the brother's van. I don't know. I
Yeah.
The character development was just so horrible.
Yeah, let's just face it. For what it is, if you like monster movies, monsters fighting,
Yeah.
good film.
Well, yeah, no. If you love the monster fighting, 100%, because
Yes.
that's the highlight of this film. Besides Team Kong's people, but the fights are just really good.
Yes. If you're a Godzilla fan and you like plot and substance, not a good film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, look. Let's be honest. The plots in the original, the first two movies, weren't that good either. You know, Kong Skull Island made sense. Kong Skull Island was like the most practical one of the four. You
Yeah.
know, because it was literally just an expedition to an uncharted island
Yeah.
that happened to have Kong.
I mean, but still, it was still a plot of substance and you could
Right.
follow it and it was a good movie.
Right, because what do you call it? As mystical and magical or whatever it is, a fantasy as it is, it's still practical. It's still just an uncharted island with an oversized ape.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And even the last movie with Godzilla with Millie Bobby Brown, it had plot, it
Yeah.
was going somewhere,
Hmm.
was a good movie.
Right.
So when you got these two movies and you're thinking that these two movies are going to come together and they really don't.
No. No.
It
I
was
mean,
a
the Skull Island part came forward. That was it. The Godzilla King of the Monsters. Those the again. I mean, I don't want to sound too repetitive, but the characters from that movie were basically pointless. And I want to say, as much as I loved Millie Bobby Brown in this movie as well, I love the fact that they brought it back, but it was pointless. It
yeah.
was. It really was pointless.
It was just like they built all those characters and that story up so much, and I appreciated it so much just to have a big letdown in this one.
Well, here's another thing, though, too, if you think about it. Godzilla doesn't need a human element because Godzilla does what Godzilla does.
Right.
Kong kind of needed the human push because they needed something from him. I mean, that was the ultimate plot device, was they needed, for some reason, him to guide them to the center of the earth.
Well, that's what I'm saying. In this movie, those characters were pointless.
Right. Yeah.
We felt sympathy for Godzilla all on our own.
Yeah.
We didn't need those character buildups. That's why I'm saying the last movie that we had all this character buildup made zero sense in this movie.
Yeah. So recap, you got Millie Bobby Brown's character, shit, pointless. Kylo Chandler's character, pointless. Bernie, just annoying. Funny at times. Don't get me wrong, funny at times, but annoying. Josh Valentine, that's the Dennison kid, whatever, from Deadpool, pointless. Ren Serizawa, who should have been a bigger character, being that he's the son of one of the guys, Ishiro, I think I'm saying it right. Yeah, Ishiro from the original, the first two movies. That just goes over. No, not never explained. You know, like everything from Godzilla's side was just shit on
Mhm.
and just done poorly, or edited poorly, or cut poorly, whichever way you want to say it.
Yeah.
And then the fantastical elements of the movie. I know it's a monster verse. Could have been a little bit better. Could have been a little bit more grounded. It just needed to be about these two fighting. That's it.
Yeah.
They could have built Mechagodzilla the way they did. That's fine. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know about using Ghidorah's head for that. I honestly thought all along, and a lot of people did too. I thought they were going to use Ghidorah's the organic, the skin or whatever it was. I thought they were going to replicate the organic part of that and build a Godzilla organically, but with the metal underneath, because that was how it was done in the original Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. When they fought for the first time, each time they encountered each other, with every little dink or whatever Godzilla was doing, he would it would break off a piece of the skin, and you would see a metal part. I thought that's what it was. In fact, I thought some of the scenes, and I think we talked about this during the trailer. Some of the scenes in the trailer, I thought was it was a deception that it wasn't even Godzilla. That was Mechagodzilla in Godzilla's skin.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that would have been a little bit too much of a suspension of disbelief, but I thought that would have been cooler than just a robot being controlled by a fucking the skull of a telepathic monster.
Which was weird. But Mechagodzilla looked good too in the
I
movie.
thought he looked fine. No, I thought the way they did him, the design was great.
The design was
It was
great.
really cool, especially compared to the original.
Mhm.
The design of Mechagodzilla was really good. I liked it, and it was teased already. Sadly, I already saw what he looked like from because these fucking toy leaks. People, these toy companies, they build them. Obviously, they make these toys, and then people leak them out, photos of them, and I already seen what Mechagodzilla looked like before the movie started.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Well, look. Question is, what did you guys think of the film? Did what we are saying, are we just reading into it too much? Are you like, Joe, come on, Joe, Kitty, it's a monster movie. What'd you expect? I get it. Most of these movies don't have good plot. The character, the human element, almost always shit. So I get it, especially in Godzilla King of Monsters. That was my biggest gripe. Look, so our biggest complaint in the original Godzilla 2014 was there wasn't enough Godzilla. In this last movie, Godzilla King of Monsters, it was all Godzilla. We just didn't care about the humans. We didn't care about it at all. Now you got this, where you got the two most iconic Titans squaring off against each other, and then it gets interrupted by just like this fumbling, bumbling Team Godzilla. Oh. But what did you guys think of that? What are some of your comments about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? I wouldn't say I hate it.
I
I
don't
think
hate
out
it.
of 10, what did I get? I think I gave it a 7 out of 10.
All right. You're okay.
What do you give it, a 5?
About 5, yeah.
Probably a 5. Yeah, I give it a 7 because it's hard. It's hard to give hate to a franchise or a character that I love so much, that I've grown up watching, way back when it was just a man in a suit. I used to watch the old Japanese, the English, the American dub ones, when I was younger.
I give it a 5 because I mean, I give it an 8 for the monster aspect of
Yeah.
it and everything, and visually everything. It's got to be an 8, but then I have to give it a 2 for everything else, so it's going to even out to about a
Well, I
5.
mean, if we were just grading the fights and the way Godzilla and Kong looked, and that, then I would probably give it a 9. But if you're going to put in the human elements, especially Godzilla's Team Godzilla, then you got to give it like a 3 or a 4, if
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I get it.
I'm grading 2 sides of it, and I'm going to give it an average. I give it about a 5. Yeah.
Yeah. If they would have just beefed up the fighting, if they would have, I get it. You can't just have a whole film of fighting. I understand that. I mean, it just doesn't make sense unless you bring in another Titan. If they would have had another Titan, and then Mechagodzilla would have been the later reveal. Again, I think the only way they could have fixed this, if they wouldn't have rushed it and they would have done another film, that would have been the Kong forward film, more of a backstory to Kong, more of a backstory, or just um an explanation of Hollow Earth and how it works. then this movie wouldn't have been a mess. So I think that would have been the best way to do it. But they rushed it, you know. And the other thing is too, they probably, another YouTuber I was watching said the same thing. The way how badly King of Monsters did in the box office. If this movie wasn't already in production, they would never have made it. A lot of people didn't think that this was even going to be made after how poorly King of Monsters did. It went reverse. Yeah, Godzilla did fairly well, and then this one, got the second one, Godzilla King of Monsters, sucked as far as box office numbers.
Yeah.
So,
It's a fun movie. Mine lie visually.
yeah, no, thumbs up the fighting, and of
Mhm.
course the fact that Godzilla doesn't lose. I like. I mean, he loses to Mecha Godzilla, but um, yeah, how did he lose to Mecha Godzilla? I mean, I understand how. I mean, Mecha Godzilla is superior. I mean, he's made of metal, but he also can. Oh, Kong just handed his ass to him,
Yeah.
which was cool. I did enjoy that, but also, guys, like I said, let us know what you thought. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and also, guys, stay tuned for next week. Around 1 o'clock, we are going to be doing our Mortal Kombat review, and brace yourself. It's probably not going to be a kind one. But I will say this though, on the whole, it's hard now. Now that I think about it, I'm as I'm about to ask you the question, I'm trying to answer it in my head. I don't know actually now that I say it out loud. What do you think is the better film?
From this and Mortal Kombat,
Yeah,
get out of here. This one.
you got to go Godzilla versus Kong, right? Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. All right. I was just making sure we were on the same page. All right.
Yeah. Absolutely. I will watch this one 10 times over.
I do want to give Mortal Kombat another watch before
I'm
we do
going
our
to. I'm going to too because I'm like maybe I was just disgusted. Just
and I
even
am
another
watching, guys,
shot.
as well. I just started watching last night, but I put it on late. I was telling Kitty before we came on. But I put it on late, so I was starting to doze off, so I paused it. But I was rewatching the original Mortal Kombat because it's now on
I
HBO
watched the
Max.
original before I watched this one,
Okay,
and I was just like, I don't. I like the original. I'm sorry.
I do. No, no, no. As I was rewatching it, I was like, okay, see, this is what I was expecting. This is what I wanted. And it's sad because a movie from 1995, you would expect visually this one to be better, which most parts it was, but it wasn't much better.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we'll get into that obviously next week. Let us know, guys, what you think about what you thought about Godzilla versus Kong. And of course, if you haven't seen Mortal Kombat yet, go ahead and do so. That way you can watch our spoiler review and let us know whether live or after the fact. Drop a comment, let us know what you thought about that film as well. But we're going to wrap it up now. Kitty, of course, I always appreciate you coming on. I like our reviews. We should be doing more in the obviously coming future. And of course, our Talk Soup is on a slight hiatus up until at least Loki comes out in June. But we got our other stuff.
We still got a talk soup we can do our Marvel movies.
Well, yeah, we still have to do our big 23 film ranking of the MCU, which we've been putting off for months. But we got that coming. I think we'll probably have a weekend or two coming up soon where we can just use a full day, especially with Game Changers almost done. And then they're, like I said, they're being that pretty much a month lull now of Loki. So we have that. So got big things coming up, guys. Good things, hopefully. And hope you're there to witness it. Hope you're there to watch it, whether it's live or on a rerun, if that's what they're called on YouTube.
How much jukes?
What?
My phone just went off. Sorry.
All right. It's okay. I didn't know what it was. Is your mom calling you?
Yeah. You
All
heard.
right. All right, all right. We're gonna end the stream anyway, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. We'll see you next week for Game Changers and Mortal Kombat review. Kitty, thank you again for coming on. I appreciate it, and I will see you. I'll see you next week.
All right, guys.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye, guys.